Dominick Cruz and TJ Dillashaw face off on January 17th in UFC Fight Night 81. And we're going to take a look at this fight from an odds and betting perspective right now with Nick Kalikas from MMAOddsBreaker.com. Nick Kalikas, this is a very interesting fight, aside from a fan perspective, from a handicapping and betting perspective. Right now, Dillashaw minus 150. I'm seeing it 5 times. Dominick Cruz on the other side at plus 130. And Cruz, of course, had so many injuries these past 4 years. We haven't seen much of him at all. But when he was in the ring, he was, an awesome champion. He wasn't defeated. He didn't lose his belt by defeat. And then his one fight back was a flashy first-round knockout. So Cruz as an underdog, despite Dillashaw being the champ and despite Dillashaw having some incredible wins recently, I could easily see that Cruz would be the public favored side here as an underdog. Is that the case?
No, he's staying steady right now, minus 150. That's where I opened Dillashaw, and that's where he is right now. Line margin's kind of tightened up a little bit as well. So there is two-way action coming in on this fight. A lot of the questions out there are definitely fair, what you just said as well. Yeah. Dominick Cruz has been injury-prone. It's a shame because he's such a great champion. I mean, he hasn't been dethroned of his title. He just, unfortunately, the injuries kind of took it away from him. But you got to give credit to Dillashaw stepping up and making a big-time run towards the title, beating Barao twice. Yeah, which is a pretty impressive thing to do by itself, and then just. But maybe
in the end that just tells us that Barao wasn't quite the pound for pound superhero that some people were saying he was.
Yeah, it happens all the time, right?
Yeah.
I mean, even with Jose Aldo surprisingly losing to Conor McGregor. Now we put all these guys on a pedestal too much, and people think they're invincible, and the lines get wacky. I mean, that fight, the original fight with Dillashaw and Barao, he opened at 400, he closed almost 10-1 or something like crazy like that. So yeah, it's ridiculous here. So I totally agree with what you just said there. This fight's awesome though. I mean, it's definitely two guys that fight similar, right? They both have good wrestling. They both are outstanding strikers. They both use that kind of movement on the feet that's unorthodox a little bit and tricky to really land on these guys. So defensively, they're okay. I lean a little bit more towards Dillashaw because he has been a little bit more active at this point, right? And I think that his punching power is a little bit better than Cruz's as well. So, and we've seen Cruz get dropped a few times. His chin's pretty good, but we've seen Cruz get dropped a few times. Now, we also have seen Dillashaw get knocked out. I mean, to Dotson of all people, too, at the Ultimate Fighter finale. But that being said, he's taken some punches, and his chin's held up pretty well. So I trust Dillashaw just a tad bit better with his chin, and I think he's got a little bit more knockout power along the way as well. But this fight, if it hits the scorecards, we're going to probably see a split decision type of fight.
Mm-hmm. So the public hasn't been favoring either fighter particularly?
No, they've been, again, coming in two-way action. Mm-hmm. I mean, the line's staying steady right now. It's at 150 and it opened 150. So it's been bouncing around just a tad, but nothing crazy, or we haven't seen any, line flipping or anything like that. So as we get closer to time, I think people are probably a little bit tentative because of the injury factor, because of, it seems like he finally gets healthy, gets hurt again type of thing. So it's kind of hard to trust somebody at that point in their career where they just seem to be getting hurt so often. I mean, you never know. It could happen during the fight, obviously, as well. And that's always scary. So your guy can be doing well, and then an injury kind of puts him out there. So I think the trust factor is kind of sketchy at this moment, but I do think, but by the time we see the fight happen, actually, there's going to be people tempted to bet, the former champ. They know that, again, he didn't get his title taken. It's just the situation is a little bit different than most cases. So I think we probably will see this line maybe drop a little bit. And then I wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of sharp action coming towards Dillashaw, and the line kind of climb up a little bit more as well. So this fight could end up being around Dillashaw 200 or so, or we could see it being around a pick. So I'm curious to see which way the action comes in. It's going to really depend on where the heavy sharp action comes in on fight day.
Yeah, I mean, the fight is still 2.5 weeks away. We're doing this call actually on December 30th, so we've got quite a while for more action to come in. But so you're expecting, it sounds to me like you are expecting a big action on this fight, and that one way or another at some point, whether it's next week or right before fight time, that there is going to be big action backing both these guys.
Yeah, I do think so. Right. I really do. We'll see some movement. I don't think it'll stay steady around 150. I think, like I said, it probably climbs up possibly to 200 or so, or we could see it drop down to a pick depending on how much heavy action comes in. So, and I can understand either way. I mean, I personally lean a little bit more towards Dillashaw because I just trust him a little bit more at this point. So at the price right now, laying 150, 160. It's not bad. I would be tempted, honestly, to do that because I do think there's a chance it might even climb even higher. But I want to kind of wait and see how it plays out, and maybe we do see some dog action come in. Dominick Cruz, the thing I like about him, and the things that I think most of the fans like as well, is not even just in the cage. I mean, the guy is his fight IQ is tremendous outside of the cage as a broadcaster as well. I mean, he's on obviously the Fox shows breaking down fights. So the guy has a really intelligent fight IQ. He game plans really well. He breaks down fights. He watches footage. I mean, he's sharp on all aspects of the game. So you got to respect Dominick Cruz. He's going to come in, know what Dillashaw is going to kind of throw at him, and he's going to have a game plan for it. Now, will it work or will it play out that way? I'm not too sure, but he's definitely going to be prepared. And the fans really are loving Dominick Cruz. I mean, even, like I said, even as a commentator, they really like what he's doing, and I don't blame him. I mean, the guy's great.
This is a tough one. You know, I'm very careful about what I actually bet. You know, I would like to feel like confident in my edges. So as of right now, I don't think I'm going to bet this fight at all. But if you forced me to, if you gave me a free bet here, I think I would take Cruz at plus 130. Nick Kalikas, if you had to make a bet on this one, what would it be? And you can throw in a prop if you want.
I would probably go the other way. I would take Dillashaw. If I had to make a bet, even at this price, I would probably go Dillashaw. Again, just the trust factor. I do think that, you know, he's got a little bit more power. I'm not sure where Dominick Cruz completely is at this spot. And to me, I mean, I guess I always have in my mind where, you know, Cruz did get dropped a couple times by Uriah Faber in their fights as well. And I think TJ Dillashaw hits a lot harder than even Faber does as well. So, and one interesting note here, I mean, as far as the action goes, and it does matter. I mean, it shouldn't matter that much, but I mean, popularity and all those, you know, aspects do come into play with some of the more square bettors or the guys that just, you know, will bet the card that aren't really into fights that much, just see that there's fights on, get the pay-per-view or whatnot, or watch the card with, you know, putting action on a fight just to do it. I think they will be tending to bet a little bit more on Dominick Cruz because he is, again, he's getting that respect as a commentator and a lot of fans like him out there. And then at the same time, Dillashaw has kind of turned into a heel, right? I mean, that situation with him and Uriah Faber leaving the camp and all the drama that's unfolded there, I think that Dillashaw has kind of looked a little bit more like the bad guy here, and Cruz has kind of looked a little bit more like the good guy. So I don't know if that kind of stuff is going to really have a huge impact on the line, but I think the general, like I said, bettors will probably impact him a little bit, and they'll throw more money on Cruz.
Always interesting to hear what you have to say. And again, Nick Kalikas' website is MMAoddsbreaker.com. Thanks, Nick.
Thank you.